I remember several years ago, my dad called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And I said, "Well, I'm not doing a whole lot." And he said, "Come on over, I need you to help me. We're working on a project in the church." Well, you have to know my dad. He'd been a pastor for many years, and so projects at the church were always an adventure. And in this particular case, they were remodeling the kitchen of the church and putting in all nice new oak cabinets and everything that way. And I remember that as we got over there, he said, "Hey, I need to tie in these cabinets. Hold your finger in this one spot and I'll quick drill a hole and then we'll tie them together and be almost finished with this." And sure enough, that's what I did. I put my finger exactly where he told me and he began to drill, and then just a moment or two later, I remember an incredible pain across the knuckle of my index finger, and I pulled away and Dad said, "Well, did I get you?" And I said, "I think you did." Well, he said, "Is it bad?" I said, "I don't know that it's that bad." And I looked and it was bleeding. But it was interesting because it didn't stop bleeding. And after a little bit, he looked at it and he said, "This is not good. We have got to go to the emergency room." And as we were there, the doctor came in and said, "We've got to do some surgery on your finger right here, right now." I can tell you that my dad was mortified. He was feeling awful. He said, "Son, I have ruined your hands to play the piano. I've ruined half of your ministry. This is awful." He was beside himself. And as we talked through that, it wasn't very long. And then he said, "I'm staying with you. I will be with you through all of this." Let me tell you what, folk. As we come to this season of the year, I don't want us to forget the God that is always with us. Isaiah 7, verse 14. Is the promise given of a son who was to come, to be born of a virgin, and his name would be called Emmanuel, God with us. John picks up on that in his gospel in the first chapter of John 1, and he talks about, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And then in verse 14, he tells us this important thing. He said, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." Well, candidly, folk, that verse in the English doesn't tell us really what we need to know, because in the original language, it was that God pitched his tent among us. Literally, as had been predicted in Isaiah, it was God with us. Let me tell you what, folk, there is no greater encouragement that any believer could have than to remember that you never walk alone. And at this season of the year, when we're getting all excited about Christmas trees and ornaments and presents and everything that way, I want to encourage you to make sure you look for that one last small but important package that's under the tree, and make sure that you unwrap the present of Jesus for your family, for you, for your life, because God is with us.